Hi and welcome to today's video where hopefully I can cascade from my experience, expertise, and knowledge to help you be a better informed business leader in taking decisions with minimum risks and simplicity about where you're heading and how you will get there, help you pivot and reinvent yourself as needed, attract, keep, motivate, and empower people around you, help you even find a sweet spot that will keep most stakeholders happy with your performance and management style, lead the way into new horizons with elegant simplicity, but not forgetting your competitive advantage, and make sure you focus on this. And last but not least, increase efficiency, profitability, and productivity without stepping over dead bodies. Now, let's deep dive into today's topic. The work we started a while ago with respect to what is strategic management, what is corporate strategy, discussing the link between strategy and tactics, and now inevitably we ended up touching upon strategy and how this influences the business structure and the organizational structure. Now, we discussed a while ago about the organizational structure, about chain of command, span of control, about the phenomena of delegating, and I'm gonna leave the link over here in this video description so that you have it handy and you can refresh your memory with respect to these concepts. But I'll keep it plain and simple today. So our strategy will severely impact the way we organize our teams, our departments, our chain of command, the flow of influence, power, and decision making. And just to give you a little hint, I really recommend that you keep this flexible, okay? And what do I mean by flexible? There are times and times. There's recession, there's boom, there's inflation, there's stagflation, there's deflation. There's blue ocean, red ocean, high competition, no competition. You're pioneering. So your management and leadership style will depend a lot on how it acts and takes decision and implements them on your corporate strategy, which is core into your mission and vision. Okay, so let's see which are today's objectives from this lesson. We're gonna be defining what organizational structure is, but a different definition from the previous lesson that I've mentioned. And this one will focus in understanding its impact in the roles and responsibilities system that is built around an individual and his or her job description, and how the decision-making process is altered. And then we're gonna study the link between the strategy and centralized leadership and strategy and decentralized leadership. Now, there are several ways to run a business, but in terms of how control is held, how orders are passed on, and how execution is expected in relationship with the employees that will have to help you get those objectives, you can either run in a centralized way or in a decentralized way. We're going to be exploring both models today as a result of the strategy you are adopting. But I'll give you my personal view with respect to this. Since there are times and times, I wouldn't necessarily always hang on to one way of leading a team, depending on the strategy. I think you need to find the right balance over here, because each of them has their wear and tear over employees and business, which we're going to explore today under the form of pros and cons. And you have to find the right balance, otherwise you lose your folks, experience massive attrition, alienation phenomena over there with respect to employees, which means that their motivation and loyalty for your company will be severely affected. Okay. Now, what do we understand by organizational structure? Okay. Now, by organizational structure is something that outlines how certain activities and certain flows are within a company to achieve a certain goal. Okay. Now, very ambiguous over here, but let me see if I can put it in a different way. So the org structure shows us the split of duties, responsibilities, and roles within a company. And you would see two different models over here in terms of decision making. A centralized one, okay, in which someone calls the shots and others follow, and a decentralized model where you would have people flowing with ideas and coming together to a consensus of actually which will be the winning move going forward. Okay, now you have to look at the decision making process in order to clearly differentiate between the organizational structure that several companies will adopt. Now, a successful organizational structure is one in which the job description of each employee will tell him or her what is the impact that they're bringing to the table, what is expected of them, and how their work is helping the organization. Okay, I might seem bohemic right now, and you would just come and say, "But I don't have the time for that." Okay, long or very very far away are the days in which an employee would just work for a salary. So my advice would be, if you decide to invest in this exercise, think about the career progression plan of that employee when building the role and responsibility and the job description over there, because people tend to work differently knowing that they have an important impact in the overall business health, progress, or let's say stability over there. So do not underestimate the power of this exercise. I think you really need to avoid the gray areas within someone's duties and responsibilities, because if you don't do that and you're going to have several employees within the same department, then you're going to realize that they're doing the same thing, hitting each other in the head and doubling their work and replicating their efforts without much added value. Okay, so that's what you need to keep in mind about organizational structure. Okay, and please think about it and invest in that job description to make sure that is tailored and motivating for someone joining your team. Okay, now depending on the strategy of the company, we might be forced to take decisions and have a leadership which is centralized. What do we mean by centralized leadership? We mean that someone, whether it's a person or a body or a team or a specific headquarter, takes all the shots, takes the decision. So basically, they are responsible for setting the direction of that company, the tasks for individuals and departments, and the expectations from them, and holding them accountable for what is happening after the implementation has started. Okay. Now, the reason we have the cons and pros a bit reversed over here is because I wanted you to see that the cons and pros of some are in other situations the pros or the cons of the other leadership model. So, what are the pros of actually having this army style centralized leadership? Now, we know who takes the decision, we know to whom to go for the decision, and there's a sense of accountability. If things go south, my commander, leader, boss, head of department gave me these instructions. You will see this very, very often. You don't have to go far to see this. Predominantly in public institutions, army, firemen, police department, um, also in bureaucratic institution. And we'll come back to Max Weber's theory over there when we discuss the keyword related to rationalization. And you will also get to see these in companies where their way of running the company is tightly linked with the cultural factor and the political model that has defined that region or ideology. We're talking here about business environments which were former part of a communist regime, old guard entrepreneurs, or current businesses which are part of the communist regime. Now, I don't want to take this political. I don't want to give examples which intertwine with politics. Each country or group of people get to decide what they opt for if they're lucky out there. But this is where I've seen this centralized leadership version excelling more, and that's why I've used this example. I'm not saying it's bad or good. I'm gonna give you the pros and cons, and you be the ones that decide this. Okay? Now, there's a top-down flow, so we know exactly that until orders or specific instructions are not coming, we don't have to act or we don't have to do things that might break the system mission or policy over there. And it's a very efficient decision-making process because once the order is out there, execution is in place, whether you like it or not. And this is important to underline. Now, the cons over here is that it lacks flexibility. So, in might suppress innovation because if one leader tells you to do something, you'll have to do it, and in the way or specifically as it was asked for. And if you reach a blocker and next time you think you can do it otherwise, or you can do it, or you can do things to actually prevent that, there's not much room for innovation or for you to be heard, feedback coming bottom up. And in terms of adaptability, I think there's some rigidity over here with respect to the centralized leadership. And also, this is also because the decisions are held in just one place or one location or in the hand of someone. And that's also why you will see delays over here in the process of deciding, implementing, or tailoring something, because that someone who's leading and calling the shots needs to agree or see that in a similar light or from a same angle that you're looking at it. So there you have it in a nutshell. What is the link between centralized leadership and strategy? This kind of leadership works quite well when we have um, I would say a national interest crisis, or as we face the pandemic, or there's an economic downturn. And so there's situations when this actually works, but of course, this doesn't mean that a decentralized leadership during the pandemics would have not worked, but when there's such a major stake in the game, things tend to become more centralized in the way shots are called. Uh, I'm turning back to I'm getting back to my observation in which I said that I believe in this model up to a point, or within a specific period of time or a business phase, but I don't really embrace it as a one and only kind of leadership style. And this is what's my segue towards the third objective of this lesson, looking at the link between strategy and decentralized leadership. Now, my first encounter with this kind of decentralized leadership was in the IT industry, and this is because people actually had a voice regardless of their job title or their place within the chain of command. And you would usually see a very flat chain of command. So not a lot of managers over managers until you get to the, uh, let's say, founder or CEO to actually um, take a decision or have an input heard or noted. Okay. Of course, this also depends on the size of the company and I saw that with size, some of these protocols of becoming more formal and having a broader chain of commands are sometimes necessary, so that bandwidth is assured for those running the company, and others act as buffers, hearing problems for which they are empowered to actually take decisions without waiting for the CEO over there. So the pros are pretty obvious and have to do with the cons that we looked at. Centralized leadership. There is flexibility, so you have the power as a department to solve an issue that comes or you've encountered. Actually, to this goes also to adaptability. That if you encounter something or seen something or consider something to be a best practice, next time you hit a blocker, there's this. Possibility for you to adapt your tactics as a department over there or as an employee to solve that in a very tailored way. It's empowering it for employees because it gives them sense of ownership and a sense that their contribution to the table is needed in solving a problem or getting closer to an objective. And as mentioned, the flexibility and adaptability, this leaves room for innovation. Okay, so for innovation, and while this is a big plus on the employee motivation side of things, employee loyalty, it can also turn into a very slow decision making process because you have to reach a consensus at department level, most probably, regardless of everyone's role within the department, so that you move forward with the decision. Now, this is a luxury these days that I don't necessarily see available for a lot of companies. If you can organize a Slack poll over there or a Teams, Microsoft Teams poll and get the decision fast, and this was studied previously through an email by everybody, then that's great. But if you have to wait for everyone to make up their mind, then sometimes instead of analysis paralysis, I think even a bad decision leads to better results, to say so. Accountability, who do we point out if things are not going as expected? If there isn't a clear leadership, whether it's formal or informal, when trying to solve a problem or reach an objective, then it's hard for us to pinpoint the accountability factor and know who's responsible for the entire team missing their quota or their target or not solving what they actually signed up for. And alignment to the same mission and coordination between folks that haven't reached a consensus or know that consensus is needed to move forward, it's making life a nightmare for the manager of that team or the manager overseeing several teams. So for this reason, I'm going back to my observation. You gotta mix them, and you gotta find the right formula for your company because you can't wait after everyone. It's great to empower, but you need to take the decision eventually. Results will backfire towards you as a manager, regardless if you decide to fire someone or not. And also, the last con that I've seen over here is inconsistency. Now, this is something that I highly associate with decentralized leadership. And this has to do with the fact that accountability for each slice of the cake over there is not really well defined. Perhaps, as said, not even the job description is not very well defined, and everybody's proactive to help and solve. Um, we're giving people a voice, but they might start working one over the other, duplicating efforts without much added value. So these being said, these are the main differences that I see between centralized and decentralized leadership. And again, they all get triggered depending on what strategy you have as a result of the environment in which you're swimming as a business. And one keyword here with respect to efficiency, whether we talk about one leadership model or the other, is the process of rationalization. Okay. Now, when it comes to rationalization itself, um, Max Weber a while ago was really fixed on the idea that if we look at a country's social sector or society, to say so, and the economic sector, they should do a lot of efforts over there to rationalize things in order to become more efficient. And this led to his view of how we should build bureaucratic models and define roles and responsibilities and hierarchies in general, whether it's a state, an economy, or a company, to actually be efficient. So I think he is one of the founding fathers of this term. But basically, you should look at rationalization not as we look in philosophy on or sociology or psychology, in which we try to rationalize some of our behaviors and steps as a result of some triggers, or try to find rational explanations for what is why is the human kind behaving or not behaving or going in a certain direction. No, rationalization has to do with key questions such as how do I become more organized, how do I reorganize things, how do I optimize, and what can I delayer in order to be more cost efficient and overall efficient. Okay. And we're living in a time right now where the global recession is forcing a lot of companies, even in the IT industry, to cut down, invest in technology, become less dependent on the human factor and the costs associated with the human factor. So, rationalization, I would say, is the process in which we're looking to cut down things in order to improve our operating efficiency, and this is part of the strategy. Okay, if your overall strategy is to improve EBITDA with a few percentages, you're not gonna be able perhaps to do that just because you're gonna sell more or you're gonna sell at a higher price. When it's recession, you're gonna be able perhaps to do that by cutting down costs with the office, by delayering, by having less managers and the existing managers covering several duties out there and overseeing several departments. So when you hear the word rationalization, I think you should be aware that changes are going to occur within that company. And guess what? These are done in good times also. So just because we have a nice economic ride right now, and it's going up the hill, the economy is going up the hill. This doesn't mean that rationalization does not continue to be part of a company's corporate strategy, and you're not part of the agenda. Now, a way to avoid being a victim of delayering process or reorganizing process is to make sure that you bring an input to the table that doesn't make you easy replaceable. So my advice for you is create added value, because if you create added value, then the bosses over you, your team manager, your team lead, your department manager will see that eventually, and results will speak for themselves. I'm not saying this is bulletproof. This is Teflon made in case of recession or restructuring or rationalization processes. But hey, you got a hell of a chance in comparison with others within the department that are just doing their job and just trying to cut slack and then move forward to get their next paycheck. Thank you for watching this video, and I wish you best of luck in setting objectives and strategies in a way that will um, be balanced with your leadership style and the way people look at you, and how you lead that company. Thank you.